Welcome back to the Woodwork Workshop. I'm Joel, and today, as you can see, we're going to be unboxing yet another tool for the workshop. This isn't really a tool for the shop here per se, and I know I probably sound like a broken record when I talk about how I'm a retired guy, right? But I'm also a handyman in our local area where I live. One of the things that I found as a deficiency in my handyman tool set is a decent crosscut chop saw, miter saw, whatever you want to call it. I do have a Porter cable. I don't know if you can see it in the shot way back there, 12-inch model 3802, I think. And I've had that, chop saw for, I don't know, I'll bet you I've had it for 20 something years. I don't even know if Porter Cable still makes it, but it's been a good workhorse. The problem with it is it's heavy. And like I said, if you watched any of my other videos, one thing that translates well with shop equipment is heavy. Everything seems to be heavy for all the right reasons. They need to be heavy, okay? But when you're lugging a 50-pound, I think it's 48 pounds. I looked it up today. 48 pounds. It isn't as much the weight because I haul 50-pound bags of water softener salt up and down my stairs in my house. And I can do that in short bursts. But a 50-pound saw, it's really awkward. You can't grab it. It really wasn't designed, in all fairness to Porter Cable, it wasn't designed to be a portable saw, and it is not portable. So every time I needed to do a bunch of cross-cutting on a job that I'm working on, I had to haul that stupid thing out or use my hand skill saw. And if you watched a previous video of mine, you saw that one of the platform changes that I've decided to make in my battery operated arsenal is I'm heading more down towards the Milwaukee toolpath. And when I was researching new saws, I thought, well, do I want a saw that I plug in and I always got to fight with extension cords? And usually the projects that I deal with really aren't like, I'm not framing a house. What I'm usually doing is finished trim work, stuff like that. So usually it's, I would guess if I had to say it was 100 cuts in a project, that would probably be kind of the extent of it. Now this particular saw, Milwaukee Tools claims you can make 600 cuts with one battery pack. So don't know if I'll ever hit that limit, but any of the videos that I've watched, everybody kind of touts the fact that it does kind of live up to that cut capacity. And I think it's going to be fine for me. And I think the other thing that'll really be nice for me is the fact that it's battery operated and I don't have to worry about extension cords, because you want to put the saw as close to the work that you're doing, right? So you aren't making 99,000 steps. Although I could probably use more steps in my day to keep a little bit healthier. There were a few factors that came into play when I picked this particular saw as my new miter saw. One of them was it fits into the platform that I decided to head down the path of, which is Milwaukee, the M18 platform. So now that I've got drills, I've got this saw, I've got a couple other things that I'm going to be picking up here. So it fit that. The second thing it fit was it's lightweight. It is only a 7¼ inch saw, but if I ever have a project coming up that has a requirement for a deeper cut than what this can provide, I'll probably just lug that heavy saw out of my basement and take it to the job site. I don't anticipate it to be that often because I really don't get into that type of work as a handyman carpenter. I do, but I'll just deal with it at that time. I think this is going to be the most portable, smallest footprint, lightweight, and it's a sliding miter, so you can cut wider planks, which is kind of nice. The reason that I actually went out and bought this right now, and I keep saying this in my videos, but really my projects that I'm doing have kind of dictated purchasing some new tools. And I'm okay with that because I'm still building my business and I want to be as efficient as I can going forward. So I am making an investment in tools like this. So I have a project coming up. I don't know if you can see that stack of wood behind me. I got to be working on some trim for a house that I'm working on. And it has some 7 1/4 inch planks on it. And my fixed miter saw is 12 inches in diameter, and it only cuts 6-inch board. Actually 4-inch boards I think are really the cut. So I needed something for that. So there were a few other reasons for that as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start unboxing this and seeing where we end up. I know some people are indifferent about these unboxing videos, so I will put, for those people that are tired of watching me unbox stuff, I'll put a number on the screen somewhere where it tells you that we're all done boxing and we start getting into the meat of the saw. All right, so the first thing is the manual. Guess we won't be needing that. Actually, I will read through that because I need to know what some of the features are. And then they give you this little wish book, I guess I call it, because it's got that map of all the tools that you could want from Milwaukee, which is kind of a wish list for this guy. So I've got you. It's good marketing. They put one of those in every box of tools that you ever buy, which I understand. Looks like this is the little work hold down clamp, which I think some people use them, some people don't. Actually, they gave me a nice Milwaukee saw blade, 40 tooth. That's kind of nice. I guess if you're going to be trying to use this right out of the box, they want to make sure you got a blade, right? Which is pretty cool. They got this, it's like the dust bag, I guess. I think this saw has been around a lot longer than I thought it was. I mean, I saw some videos from like 5 years ago. So I was kind of surprised to see that because I don't know that I recognized it being around for that long. Of course, good old styrofoam. Now, we'll see how light this is because I don't want to wreck the box just yet. And I do want to take it out of the box, so let's see how this works. Well, actually, that is pretty light. The rest, I think, is just more styrofoam. Yep. I'm probably going to find out when I go to edit this video that I've got a big piece of styrofoam stuck to my lip or something like that. Usually how that goes, right? Just gotta put this in the background so that good old Milwaukee tools call me. Just so you know, I did use my own hard-earned money to buy this saw. So I'm going to give you my own first impressions, and which aren't going to be affected by a sponsorship from Milwaukee. Although, like I said, the more and more I do these videos, I wish I did have some sponsors like that, but I think it's going to take a while. I really don't have that many followers yet. Which reminds me, might give you an opportunity right now to click on that subscribe button right now. I could use the subscribers and would appreciate the subscribers. A bag, I guess we're not supposed to let little kids play with. Seems like a smart idea. Now that's going to be making noise in the background for a while, I think. So here's kind of the first look at it. I guess, you know, they've got it. It looks like the footprint is kind of narrow the way they have it, and it is nice and light. I mean, I'm not a beefcake by any stretch of the imagination, but that was the biggest reason that I picked this. I looked at a few different ones. I looked at the DeWalt as well, but again, keeping to the theme of sticking with one platform, having one battery architecture to use all the time, I headed down this path. I think the DeWalt looks pretty promising as well. Had I gone down the DeWalt route for my other tools, I probably would have considered that, but in that particular case, I'm sticking down the Milwaukee path for now. Call me a fanboy, whatever you want, but it's a decision that I decided, and I'm gonna stick with it for a while anyway. So, looks pretty good. They got it wire tied down here. I don't know if I can, that's a beefy wire tie, holy smokes. And I don't have, I had to break away and go get a pair of cutters. This is the kind of wire tie, nylon wire tie that I'm thinking that the cops use when they want to handcuff you. Not that I know from any experience, but kind of what it looks like to me. All right, there's that. Little packing cardboard. I'm assuming there's a release button here somewhere. Again, I haven't read through the manual yet, so I don't really know. Oh. It's working. Set that in the background. All right, pretty cut and dry. There's really not a lot of assembly at this point. Let me get a few more things set up. I'll get a blade in it, and maybe we'll cut a board just to see what it's like. Go from there. So we'll be back in a second. So the first thing you want to do when you're changing or adding the blade is going to be to hold this down, hold that up, and as you let go of it, then the guard stays in that position. Now there's a spindle lock on the back side, right almost directly across from where the arbor is. And then you just take that, loosen it up, and as you go, the lock washer gets a little looser. Now this little wrench, again, was located on the back side. Fine threads. There's your little nut, and should be a little arbor bolt there. Make sure you get it in the right orientation. One has to stay in there though. There's two pieces, so they sandwich the blade together. And of course, you do want to make sure that you get the rotation of the blade in the right direction, right? So when you're cutting on these saws, you don't want to have it like this. That'll play havoc. Definitely go with usually the label heading out, but I mean, look at the blade, and I believe there's a little indicator in here as well. We'll slide this up in there. It should lock right on there. And you can see how this is got a flat side on it, so it does kind of lock on there like that. Then we have to hold this spindle lock down again. As you can kind of see, this is reverse threaded. So normally you'd be going lefty-loosey, right? In this particular case, we're going lefty-tighty, which is, you know, counter to what you would normally do. But a lot of that, I believe, has to do with the rotation of the blade. You see how that locks in there. You don't want to go over tight. Just make sure it's snug. I don't think there's a torque spec. You can see that. And there we have the blade installed, okay? Now that bugger is sharp, so obviously take care and follow all the safety instructions in the manual. But then we can pull this down. Now you can see it operates just fine. And everything is free. It goes into the kerf slot here without any issue. Now that we have the blade installed, let's go ahead and reposition things here and get ready for our first cuts. We're all set. We've got the right camera angle, hopefully, so you can kind of get a good glimpse at some of the features and benefits that I'm going to kind of point out here that I've already identified. First of all, we've got, right now it's in the lockdown position, so it doesn't go up. And there's a little pin right here. You can maybe see it. I'll get a little bit of a close-up shot on that as well. But you just simply, when you want to lock it in the down position, hold it down, push that in, and it stays locked, okay? If you want it to be freewheeling, pull that pin out, and there you have it, huh? Pretty simple. Pretty standard feature, I think, on a lot of miter saws. My old Porter cable one, same thing, pretty much has a pin in there. On the back, because of the fact this is a sliding miter saw, there's also a lockdown in the very back here, so you can keep it locked in one position. If you're doing a lot of just straight cuts, perpendicular cuts, you probably just want to lock it down, maybe not all the way forward. You probably want to lock it down, slid right about there, where it would cut through all the boards, and you could just zip through them that way. Now, if you do that, you're going to be kind of limited to the maximum board width that you're going to be cutting through. If they're narrow boards, they'll work just fine. On the back, you'll notice the bevel gauge, and this particular saw does allow you to go to the left or to the right. So to go to the left, it's pretty easy. You just loosen up the knob on the back and dial it into whatever degree that you want. There are no locking detents for the various degrees, but you just need to follow the pointer that's on there, set it to the degree angle that you want, and then tighten the knob back up on the back. Now there are markers on there, albeit they're fine, but it's a small saw and it's a small area, so the numbers will be a little bit small. So if you're a guy like me, you're probably going to need some cheater glasses. But they do have 45 degrees, 33.9 degrees. So if you're working on some crown molding, 33.9 degrees comes into play on certain cuts for certain crown molds. So I'm not going to get into cutting crown molding on this particular video, but just know that there is a marker there for that. Of course, 30, 22.5, 15, and 0. And of course, there are increments every 5 degrees, and there are small marks for every 1 degree. So you can dial it into a pretty finite angle if you'd like. If you want to go to the right and rotate your bevel, there's a knob on the back. You just pull it out. First, you just get it off 0 a little bit to the left, pull out on this black knob, and then you can rotate it to the right. And then you do the same thing. Just dial it into the angle that you want, tighten up the knob, and you're good to go. So that kind of takes care of the bevel angle. And again, I did mention that there are stops on both sides. I haven't gone through the process of calibrating those yet, but I will, and get those set to a trustworthy 45 degrees. So we're good to go there. It's got a nice workpiece hold down. Now there's a bit of a locking mechanism on here. I'll try to get a close-up shot of this, but there's a flat piece or a flat spot on this bar that they use to lock it into the hole on the back. Just kind of pivot it and it locks in there. You could pivot it out of your way, obviously. And then you have the two wing fences, or I don't know if there's a technical term for them, but they too, there's a little nut on the back that allows them to go all the way out like that. Take this out of the way so it's not making too much noise. And on the right, you can get it out pretty far. You can also see that they have some provisions in here to make a false fence. So if you want to make something that's a little taller, maybe you're doing some crown, who knows what else you're cutting, you could make yourself a nice false fence out of wood, maybe something like 1/2 inch or something of that nature. and you could maybe extend those out a little bit further to kind of help you out as well. So those are the wings there. You got the workpiece hold on, we talked about that. Of course, the base pivots. What good would a miter saw be if it didn't pivot to the degree that you want to make your cut? And by moving that, what you need to do is just pull up on this lever, and you can hold it. Gotta put your thumb there. You slide it back and forth. Now, if you let go of the button, you'll feel it click. There's 45 degrees. There is 31.6 degrees. There's 22.5 degrees, 15 degrees, and of course, 0 or perfectly 90-degree cuts. And of course, it goes in the opposite direction here as well. So you could do that. Now here you have this lever on the side, which is kind of interesting. So if you don't want to keep clicking into each of these detents, what you do, hold up on the button, the lever. It's not really a button, it's kind of more of a lever. And you move that forward and let go. Now it will move back and forth without any clicking into the detents. So, you know, if you don't want to keep having it ratchet through all those degrees, you can kind of set that so it's just smooth operating. And then when you get to the degree you want, let's say you wanted 16 degrees, you put the little pointer on 16 degrees, push down, and you're locked and loaded, okay? So that's kind of pretty neat little feature there, I guess. You know, if you really get kind of annoyed at it stopping at all these detents, I suppose you might want to use that as well. So there you have the pivoting part of that. On the back, you have your little dust sock or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, I guess if you're out on a job, probably like I do, and you don't have your dust collector handy with you, maybe it's going to be convenient to just put that on versus having it spew all over the place. But it does come off really easy. And inside, so there are two different port openings. There's a 2.5 inch and a 1.5 inch. So I think some of the bigger shop vacs will have the larger hose, and the smaller ones use obviously the smaller hose there. Let's talk about how you'd pack this up. If you were done for the day, you're going to load it into your truck or your car or whatever you have. So the first thing you'd probably do, is just bring these wings in as flush as you can. Tighten those down, make sure they're locked and they're good. Make sure it's locked in the center position here. Take this, bring it down, push that pin in, and there you're held there. Now, with the sliding miter, I've made this mistake already once when I was moving it around, is I didn't have it locked down. So probably about in the middle is going to be the most optimized distance, because if you slide it all the way out, well, that could work too. You have to kind of experiment with that and see, you know, what works best for you. When it came in the box, it was at 45 degrees. So I think this is really the best angle as far as making it as small as possible. Then of course you could take the dust sock off and get that out of your way. What'll happen then is you'll end up dumping all the dust all over the inside of your vehicle, and it'll make just kind of a nice little mess there. So that kind of takes care of walking you through all the doodads and the features on this particular saw. Let me go grab a piece of wood and pop a battery in and make our first cut. I guess before we get started, I will recommend that you do read the manufacturer's literature and adhere to all their safety requirements when using this saw. There's a lot of obvious things. I'm not going to go through them specifically, but the one biggest one is probably to maybe do all your setup on the saw. If you're going to be adjusting fences, you know, getting your angles set, all that kind of fun stuff. Maybe before you throw the battery in. I think the way that they have these safety triggers is really nice. It does help give you a level of protection, but you know, having the battery out of it is going to ensure that there's no accidental motion. So that's the one thing that I would probably do. But again, you know, read the manufacturer's requirements and follow them as closely as you feel comfortable with, okay? So the particular batteries, you know, these Milwaukees aren't too different than most batteries. They got a couple levers on there that you snap in to the back here. On most Milwaukee tools that I've seen, when you pop the battery in, the light will come on for a little bit, whether it's a drill or whether it's the saw. Now, one interesting thing about this particular saw is it has a shadow, I think they call it a shadow guide. And it shines a light around the blade such that it creates a shadow for where the blade is going to be making contact with the surface. So kind of neat, you know, I think that's pretty handy. So let's go ahead. We got the battery in place now. I'm just going to make just a straight 0-degree perpendicular cut on the board, and it's going to be pretty eventless, to be honest with you. I am going to put earphones on only because my hearing's bad enough as it is, and I'm not going to put any dust collection on at this point because we're going to make one simple cut. As far as safety glasses go, these are safety rated lenses, but I don't have any side shields on them. But again, you know, follow the safety guidelines according to what your manufacturer says and what you're comfortable with. So obviously, you know, you're going to keep your hands out of the way of the blade, right? That's a no-brainer as far as that goes. Probably just make sure that these fences are just snugged up so they're not moving on us. I made this short enough so that I don't have to worry about it flopping around. I'm just going to make one simple cut. I want you to see how quickly the blade stops once you're done making a cut. All right, so let's go ahead. Now, normally when you're using a sliding miter like this, the motion is starting out here, going into the workpiece and going back that way. So it's kind of out, down, in. Now what you can do is there's a button on the top here that you can press before you make your cut, so you can line it up over the top with your pencil mark. There's a little safety lever that you pull, and then you pull the bigger handle grip. Pretty simple, right? There you have it. Pretty cut and dry, right? I really like it. You know, I've already had an opportunity to use it on a project that I'm kind of half started with, and I must say that from, you know, the weight of it, as far as the accuracy of the cuts, as far as the nice shadow line that it shoots down, the fact that the bevels go back and forth to the left, to the right, the adjustability in the fences. The biggest part that I'm really excited about is really in the portability of the saw. So, you know, for me, like I really started out with this whole video was, my whole purpose here was I didn't want to be lugging around my big old miter saw, and this was really going to fit the bill for that. So I'm really pretty excited about that. Well, that wraps up this video on the 7 1/4 inch Milwaukee battery operated miter saw. A lot to say. I really do appreciate you tuning in. Please subscribe. Over here, there should be a subscribe button somewhere. If you haven't already done so, it would be greatly appreciated. It really will help this channel grow. More importantly, please share it with a friend, share it with your grandma, share it with your dog, share it with your cat. Maybe give it a nice like. That would be greatly appreciated as well, because all those things combined will help get this channel more exposure and grow. I would greatly appreciate that. So like I always say, you know, let's get back to making. Let's roll our sleeves up. You know, where's the fun in buying something when you can actually make it with your bare hands, right? Thanks again. I really do appreciate you watching. Until next time, we'll see you later.